Well, folks, Disney Minus has done it again. After pissing on the graves that they dug for Marvel and Star Wars, the next biggest sci-fi franchise owned by Disney has already received a bafflingly terrible new entry. Seeing as how it was being created by the talented Noah Hawley and starring Timothy Olyphant, there was a lot of potential here. Not to mention, the idea of xenomorphs arriving on Earth was a no-brainer that hadn't been brought to screen, despite studios pitching it since the third movie, which ended up being the Shitshank Redemption instead. I was really excited for this show because of all that. Each trailer was getting me more and more hyped, and even though I knew it might not be everything I was hoping for, I thought that it would at least for sure be better than Alien Romulus from last year. That movie had some great moments and, generally speaking, a really strong first half, but suffered from uninteresting characters, stupid and gratuitous nostalgia baiting, and one of the worst endings I've ever seen where the villain turned out to be Stephen Miller's cousin? So it wouldn't be very tough to make this show a huge improvement on that, and by extension, the best this franchise has seen since Prometheus. But instead, what we got was,
I was sick before we got sick. Like, always sick, kind of. No immune system, my mum said.
Not me. Healthy as a horse. Pew!
a total fucking shit show. So before I begin tearing into this abomination of a series premiere, and yes, I'll only be talking about the first 2 episodes because frankly, I'm not subjecting myself to any more of this garbage unless they Clockwork Orange my ass, let me just mention what I did like about it. I guess this eyeball monster is pretty cool. And this one dialogue scene at the start with the scorpion feels like it was written with some intentionality. Too bad that the rest of the show feels like it was written by a legion of androids trained on shitty horror movie scripts. So why do I hate this show so much? Well, let me start with the characters. The story follows this girl, originally Marcy but given the name Wendy, who has her human consciousness transferred into a synthetic body so she can survive despite her terminal illness. This is already a very weird way to start things, but I suppose it's at least unique and interesting. What I can't stand, though, are the other children who go through the same process, and yet, unlike Wendy, who mostly acts like an adult but with some slight whimsy left over from childhood, are completely immature and underdeveloped. I suppose that makes sense, but it's not what I want to be watching in a fucking alien show. Hell, even Newt, an actual little girl character from this franchise, was never annoying like these morons. And seeing a bunch of adult actors pretend to be children is not enjoyable, at least not for me. Maybe some of these critics who enjoyed other releases almost as much as this one will have different tastes, but, you know, that wouldn't surprise me. I can see these moron critics getting paid off, but the audience reviews are also staggeringly positive for this garbage. Although I did notice that on IMDb, all the positive 10 out of 10 reviews have way more downvotes than upvotes. Kinda suspicious. Perhaps Disney is paying for reviews? No. Disney doing something unethical? I couldn't even imagine. Oh. Anyway, why the hell do they act like total children and Wendy is like an adult? Maybe she's a bit older than they are?
We are kids.
What?
I don't get it. I'm 11 and Wendy just turned 12.
Well, fuck. They had to write themselves out of that plausible deniability too. None of these characters are interesting in the slightest. Wendy's only character trait is that she wants to see her brother again, but the emotional weight behind that isn't really portrayed in any way apart from her staring at recordings of him in awe. It's more like he's a rock star she's obsessed with than her brother, and there's no emotional depth here. At least when she does meet him, he reacts more like a normal fucking person, asking questions in disbelief to see if she's really his sister, and then being overcome with emotion when it's confirmed, but Christ on a bike, neither of these characters have anything unique or likable about them. They're just blank slates, and their relationship is so transparently a plot device to set all the other stupid shit in this show into motion. So we have a bunch of disposable side characters, the insufferable hybrid kids, and Wendy and Joe, who are the most important characters by far and yet still feel like a waste of space. There is this one cyborg guy who was on the ship that crashes and has the alien on it, and these very first scenes of him expressing his cold dedication to delivering the specimens, are actually pretty chilling. Too bad they really don't do much else with him apart from having him save Joe's ass from a xenomorph out of nowhere and then somehow survive his own encounter with it because he... Actually, I have no fucking idea why he survives this outside of blatant plot armor. That's another huge issue with this show. It has no balls. The xenomorph will tear a room full of people to shreds off screen or kill some total nobody, but the characters that are important are protected in the most absurd and obvious ways. Like, come on, I know the show is set in the future, but they're still watching fucking Ice Age on the TV. There's no way it's advanced enough that they figured out how to make elevators close that fast. It's impossible. But on a serious note, this is dumb as shit, because later the elevator doors open and close super slowly, so which is it? The only other characters worth mentioning are Timothy Oliphant, who does fucking nothing but say a bunch of meaningless jargon in an ominous voice, and this dipshit, who's supposed to be a representative of those annoying young AI tech billionaires. And don't get me wrong, that's actually a pretty good villain to have in a new entry in this franchise, but he's not played believably at all. He's just annoying for it to be cringy, but not annoying enough for it to seem intentional, you know? Something that also pisses me off is how slow this show is for no reason. So many fucking scenes of the characters just slowly walking, and this is actually common on Disney Plus shows, but it pisses me off. That's all small potatoes though, compared to the last three things I want to mention. Now these three things are more specific than the more general critiques I've been talking about, like the characters, pacing, and writing, but they sum up the show's shittiness pretty perfectly. First, the show isn't scary at all and actually makes the aliens out to be super lame. All of the horror/action scenes are the most predictable bullshit ever. Oh, you're telling me the alien is gonna come out of that giant hole in the ceiling? No way! Oh, now he's in the elevator? Wow, never expected that. Oh, he's hiding in the statue? Who could have fucking seen that coming? I love how the characters in this are physically incapable of looking behind them. Like, Joe is supposed to be this trained medic, he's got a gun, and yet when he enters a massive room, he doesn't think to do a little spin to see if the alien is hiding above him? Give me a break. What happened to shocking scenes, or ones that actually build up tension? They don't even try to replicate the surprise of the xenomorphs in the vents from Aliens because everything in this is so obvious and telegraphed, and the suspenseful build-up, like in the vent scene in the first movie, is also nowhere to be found despite this show being so painstakingly long and slow.
Move.
That was the lamest line delivery ever. And this dude gets into more encounters with the xenomorph in 2 episodes than it feels like Ridley ever did. It gets saved by the cyborg, the supersonic elevator doors, or some other stupid contrived bullshit, but it makes the xenomorph out to be no real threat at all. If it can just be shocked and frozen to goop like some cheap circus animal and can't even kill this one long-faced dipshit, then what's the big fucking deal about it being on Earth? Likewise, that cool eyeball monster is defeated by getting a metal box and microscope placed over it like your average spider. What a joke. And I love how completely fucking brain dead the characters can be with no repercussions. This idiot is doing foreplay with an alien dick for like 20 minutes, and yet nothing ever happens with it. So what was the point of the scene at all? But then we get to the decision that bothers me most of them all. Why the fuck did they let the hybrids, you know, the ones with the minds of children, investigate this shipwreck? Wendy wants to go there to see her brother, that makes sense. But why would anyone let that go on when it's super dangerous and, again, they're mentally kids? If it was a decision by the CEO that was ill-informed because, you know, he's a rich dumbass only looking out for his own ego, then that would make sense. But instead it's presented as some righteous venture for the main character that we should be rooting for. Like, what the fuck? And finally, we have the clusterfuck that is the scene of Joe and Wendy meeting, after he has the stupidest flashback of all time where we get derailed and the plot focuses on baseball for like 2 minutes straight while the alien is still on the loose, by the way. She starts acting like a creepy fangirl around him and eventually has her secret told to him by someone else. She even acts embarrassed by it, which makes no sense. This drove me nuts. There is literally zero reason for her not to tell him she's his sister immediately. I mean, wasn't that the whole point of this stupid journey anyway? So yeah, guys, this show is a huge, enormous piece of crap, and we're only 2 episodes in. Well, I say we, but y'all can keep watching without me if you really want. I made myself watch Alien 3 twice already, so I'm done torturing myself with this franchise. And in fact, this series makes me think that maybe I was even too harsh on Alien Romulus.
Keep up. We move fast.
Are you fucking kidding me?